after giving CPR to one of the rioters who breached the Capitol in an effort to save her life, that I finally had a chance to let my own family know that I was alive. After order has been restored at the Capitol, in many hours, I arrived at home at nearly 4 a.m. on January 7th. I had to push my wife away from me because she wanted to hug me. And I told her no, because of the other chemical that my uniform had on. Sorry. I couldn't sleep because the chemical reactivated after I took a shower, and my skin was burning. I finally fell asleep 2 hours later, completely physically and mentally exhausted. Yet by 8 o'clock a.m., I was already back, on my way back to the Capitol. And I continued to work for 15 consecutive days until after the inauguration. I made sure to work despite my injuries because I wanted to continue doing my job and help secure the Capitol complex. More than 6 months later, I'm still trying to recover from my injuries.
I remember thinking there was a very good chance I would be torn apart or shot to death with my own weapon. I thought of my 4 daughters who might lose their dad. I remain grateful that no member of Congress had to go through the violent assault that I experienced that day. During the assault, I thought about using my firearm on my attackers, but I knew that if I did, I would be quickly overwhelmed. And that, in their minds, would provide them with the justification for killing me. So I instead decided to appeal to any humanity they might have. I said as loud as I could manage, "I've got kids."
As we came close to the terrace, our line was divided and we came under attack. A man attempted to rip the baton from my hands and we wrestled for control. I retained my weapon after I pushed him back. He yelled at me, "You're on the wrong team." Cut off from our leadership, which was at the front of our formation, we huddled up and assessed the threats surrounding us. One man tried and failed to build a rapport with me, shouting, "Are you my brother?" Another takes a different tack, shouting, "You will die on your knees."
It really, the video yesterday, the testimony was nothing short of extraordinary. These were great police officers, great cops, fathers, husbands, Americans who were defending this country. They were defending our Constitution. And they were getting brutalized for it by terrorists that were sent to the Capitol, by insurrectionists, by seditionists. It's you just again look at the definitions in our books, our statutes. Of course, I know laws mean absolutely nothing to the people that were there that day, who stormed the Capitol that day. It means nothing to Donald Trump. I understand that, but I was watching, and John Heilman, I actually was telling myself, okay, well, this is actually going to cut through. I understand we live in a crazy age. I understand there is a personality cult. I understand all of these things, but so many of those people who have not wanted to face the truth about January the 6th respect cops, respect law enforcement officers, and will listen to this, and at least they will be afforded a bare minimum of respect. And yet on other networks, you actually had people saying January 6th was much ado about nothing, and, well, that these police officers were just actors.
Yeah, man, I was, Joe, I've been watching congressional hearings for 30 plus years. I know you've been watching them for about that long, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in terms of its in terms of just one's emotional, visceral reaction to it. Never seen anything like it, and I've never felt more like I've always respect people who come forward and tell the truth. These people, you're in the presence of genuine heroes, and I felt grateful and humbled by their sacrifice, and kind of in awe in some ways of what they withstood, and that they're still here and able to even talk about it without literally just dissolving into puddles, given what the trauma of what they went through. And then, you said other networks, right? I think it's really important that it's not just that there's this cult of personality. What I think we all do not grasp fully yet, we have only a vague sense of it, is that there is this parallel universe, this parallel media infrastructure, this parallel media universe in which Donald Trump is the king, is the godhead. But it just means that there are tens of millions of Americans now. The reason that that this is not going to change their minds is it's not going to get through to them at all. They are just they are absorbing a totally different version of reality and what's going on in America. So to the extent that this stuff got covered, as moved as I was by the testimony, I was just enraged to see people on all of these right-wing networks getting on and saying they're crisis actors, saying these people made this up. There's primetime hosts on other networks, like giving out acting awards for who was the best actor in this category and that category. I mean, the most disgusting, appalling, morally depraved, stomach churning behavior on people who are not worthy. Not even worthy to coexist on the same planet in some ways with these people. These people who made the sacrifice are sitting in their fully vaccinated, air-conditioned studios, mocking these men, mocking them, not diminishing their importance or talking about. I'm talking about openly mocking their sacrifice and their service, calling them crisis actors, calling them. Saying they fabricated all this, apparently made it all up, and then others, Joe, as you know, some people who used to have some respect in this business, coming on television and saying, it was much ado about nothing. This was a largely peaceful protest, going back to that same trope that's been trotted out now by some of these nutty right-wing members of Congress and the former president, that hey, nothing to see here. This is a day at the park, even in the face of all of the video evidence and in the face of this powerful testimony. No, it's not going to break through, I'm afraid, because they are fully in the grip of this delusion, and the delusion is supported by this alternative parallel media infrastructure that is never going to allow anything close to the truth to pierce the consciousness of the people who are in its thrall.
You do wonder about the people that run those other networks. You do wonder why they allow anti-American rhetoric like that to go over the air, why they allow the mocking and the ridiculing of law enforcement officers who risk their lives, were beaten within inches of their lives. With American flags, brutalized, all to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, all to protect and defend a constitutional occurrence from happening, all to protect and defend the peaceful transition from one president to the next. And you watched the testimony yesterday, and I can tell you, any good American, let me say that. I don't say this usually. I'm going to say any good American that respects law enforcement, that respects men and women in blue, any good American would have been moved by what they saw yesterday. And if they instead went on and mocked the service of those men who were nearly beaten to death for simply trying to protect their country because so much was on the line on that day, then accountability, I guess, at the end of the day, goes to those people and those corporate boards that allow people like that on television. It's a disgrace to America. It's a disgrace to the networks that they're members of. It's a disgrace to all of us that people like that mock the service of the men in blue who protected us in the middle of a constitutional crisis. And if anybody telling you that January 6th wasn't a constitutional crisis, if you're listening to anybody who's mocking the service of these cops, you just know they're not good Americans. They're not good Americans. I said it again. And people that employ them should be ashamed of themselves. They're a disgrace.